out a bunch, and as always, you look fantastic. Let's get into this. I'm guessing a lot of you probably go to Felwood, go to Heroic, you do the Bane Hollow one because you want to make sure you're getting the closest you can to 30. And what you do is you pick your farming comp. So I'll pick my farming comp, we'll lock it in, and we'll look for a run that has a really short amount of fights, which is only 2. This one looks pretty good, but this might actually be the reason why you're not getting a lot of tasks. Here's why. This is the Reddit post I was talking about. It was posted by Singery, and I just want to do a very quick shout out to you, Singery. If you end up watching this video, thank you so much for your data and your hard work and the time you took to make this, because this will probably help out a lot of people, and I want to just extend your reach into the YouTube world. So chat, if you guys see this guy in the comments, say thank you. If you ever see him on Reddit, tell him Rarran says thanks, because this is awesome. On to the post. Heroic, Bane Hollow, and Mysterious Stranger, worth it doing more fights and go for further nodes. Nodes are the mysterious icon that you see on the PvE maps. Got frustrated with the seemingly low Mysterious Stranger rates when doing only fast low fight runs, so I figured to see the fight to node ratio has any effect on the rate. Now, if you don't really understand what that means, no worries. I'm going to explain it quite a bit in this video. The main idea of this study was to see if you should go for nodes or just the mysterious icons on PvE maps further down in the PvE zones instead of picking the ones that have the least amount of fights in between, and see if that actually increases your rates of getting Mysterious Strangers. Now, this may seem like a pretty weird thing. Isn't it just random? Well, it turns out, based off this dude's research and my research, that it's actually not random, and you might be more likely to get Mysterious Strangers if you do more fights in between. So this is the data that Singery had on the Reddit post, and I just want to point out 2 things here. This is all done for Heroic, Bane Hollow, as well as the runs and the sample size of 800. Now, that is a lot of runs for an individual person. Obviously, if we look at the global statistics of every single time Heroic, Bane Hollow has been ran to find strangers, this is probably not a large percentage of that, but for an individual person, the sample size of 800 is quite substantial, which is why I wanted to shout the person out right at the start of this video, because this is a lot of work to go into this. So I hope this data is actually really helpful for the people who care. The first set of data points here, we can already get a pretty good idea of what the data is concluding to. Is it data or data? Let me know in the comments down below. But the main idea of this is that with 1 fight, there is 20% of a chance for you to get a Mysterious Stranger. With 2 fights, the percentage virtually doubles from 20 to 40% rounded up. 3 fights, you go to 40% to 55%. And then with 4 fights, you go to 65%. Now, that's pretty insane, but for 5 fights, it virtually goes up to 73% of the time, which is a really good thing to know, which basically means the more fights you do, the higher percentage chance you have to get a Mysterious Stranger. Even went a little bit more specific with the 4th node, 5th node, and 6th node. Starting out the 4th node, you can see with 1 fight in between the 4th node, there is a 24% chance of getting it. With 2 fights between the 4th node, you have virtually a 40% chance of getting it. And with 3 fights between the node, you have a 58% chance of getting it, 59 rounded up, with basically a total percentage of 45% of the time rounded up for 272 sample size. With the 5th node, you can see that it kind of increases with more fights, just following the pattern and the trend. 1 fight, 0%, obviously a very small sample size. 2 fights, you have a 40% chance, 39% chance rounded up from 38. 3 fights, you have virtually a 50% chance of doing it. And then 4 fights, you have a 64% chance, basically totaling up to a 47% chance, 48% chance rounded up. And then at the 6th node, the stats get even better. 2 fights, there's almost a 48% chance. 3 fights, you have a 60% chance. 4 fights, you have a 67% chance. And then 5 fights, you have a 72% chance. With a total of 63% of the time, you will get a Mysterious Stranger. If you looked at that data and said to yourself, I don't even know what you're talking about, what are you saying, Rarran? The main idea and what you can interpret from the data is that the more fights you do in between the node, the more likely you are to get a Mysterious Stranger at that spot. Now, it is important to mention that this is still not guaranteed. There's never a 100% chance of getting a Mysterious Stranger. In other words, you could do 20 fights in between the node, which is theoretically possible in PvE, and you still may not be getting the Mysterious Stranger every single time. but it just increases your chance of getting them. So don't worry about Blizzard nerfing the spot or whatever. You could do this on any single map you want. They did it on Heroic Bane Hollow, but the more fights in between the node, the more likely you are to get a mysterious stranger. I looked at his data and I looked at the map he picked and I said to myself, I want to do the same study just with a different location and see what results I found. And obviously I'm not going to have as much of a sample size. I have to do a bunch of stuff like editing videos and doing streaming and PvP, but I did do a decent amount and I wish I recorded more, but I did find some interesting findings from doing this. So obviously with the new Mercenaries coming out, I wanted to do the Ren Blackhand as I was trying to farm Edwin, Sneed, and Cookie in order for them to get maxed out. Now, I decided to do on this, no reason in particular other than that, but this is what I found from doing this on stream 10 times. So this is my sample size of 10 that I did on stream. Now, I just want to point this out. I know that's a small sample size and it's hard to just basically get anything from this, but from doing Mysterious Strangers a bunch of time off stream and not included in this data. The only reason I'm including this data over everything else is because I actually recorded this on stream for everyone to see. And the basic findings I found basically was, if you're doing less fights, you don't actually get strangers. In both cases, I tried to avoid the fights if I could. So I took like boons or I did the spirit healer. And obviously this is much smaller sample size, but 100% of the time I didn't actually get a stranger. And I did notice that the more fights I did take, there was still a 50% time of getting a stranger. Now, of course, it's not always going to be 100% of the time, and 4 fights may actually increase your odds based on the sample size that we found earlier, but it's still not 100%. And 3 seem to be pretty likely. Obviously, with more sample size, I can do and get a better idea of what this actually means. And I will continue to do this on stream and actually mark my findings as I'm going. So if that's interesting to you and you want to see an update on this, I can do another video. Let me know in the comments down below. But I will say this, he's on a very good track of actually proving the point of doing more fights is important. Let's go look at the Reddit comments real fast. Looking at the Reddit comments for this thread, you can see a lot of people are pretty excited with the idea of this, and it actually makes total sense design-wise. More fights increases your odds of getting tasks, which is insanely important to know. So it's not 100% concrete that this is the truth, but it seems to be skewing in that direction. So if you want to try this yourself and help increase the odds, or I guess the data in helping us understand the odds of getting a mysterious stranger, start doing it. It would help us out a lot, and let us know in the comments down below or go to the subreddit and help. It would be very, very important for the community to make sure we get as much tasks as possible. But if this is helpful and you found this a great video, make sure you subscribe. And again, I'm sorry for the small sample size on my part, but I just wanted to showcase this. Thank you for watching.